This is Two Chicks Talkin Flicks, where we review movies. Love them or hate them, someone's got to do it. So enjoy the show. Hi, I'm Sarah, and this is Two Chicks Talkin Flicks, and anything else that gets in the mix. And today I have Chris on to continue our Hasta la Vista October segment. Hi, Chris.
October la Vista, baby.
You do it so much better than I do.
I try.
I kept doing that all night long, but it was with different things. It was like, come with me if you want to live. Eat this muffin if you want to live. Drink this juice if you want to live. It was fun.
Yeah, I was doing that just trying to roll out of bed this morning. Wake up now if you want to live.
I don't know why that's so fun, but it is. It really, really is.
There's a lot of entertaining things in this movie in general.
True.
It's much more memorable than the first installment, to be honest.
Yeah. But there was still in my head, I remember a scene, and I didn't see it in the movie. I may have just missed it, but I was like, is it in the third one? And my dad was like, no, that's a girl. And I was like, I don't know then. So,
what scene do you think you missed?
So for some reason, I felt like they were like in a big crowd of people, and the silver guy, I can't think of his name. There's it's like at a movie theater, or not at a movie theater, but like outside of like a movie theater or something. And I don't know why, but it was just something in my head, and I guess it didn't happen. So I don't know what I'm thinking about.
Ooh.
Yeah. I don't know.
I have no idea where that's from. Maybe we watched the other movies and it might pop up.
Could be. Or maybe I saw it in a movie theater, and so maybe there was like a poster or something, and I just, in my head, transfixed.
Or maybe it was like a commercial that they used to advertise the movie coming now to theaters near you, and then they did this whole thing like just outside of a movie theater in a crowd or something.
Could have been. I don't know. But whatever.
Like one of those Universal Pictures reenactments. Oh,
that's true. So for those who are not following along, we are doing Terminator 2, Judgment Day. This one came out in 1997?
Around there. I don't have the information up in front of me. Bad podcaster.
That's okay. Neither do I. But what was interesting is that when the movie starts, it shows what LA could look like in 2029. And that's so close. And we decided that depending on who wins this election, it could very well look like that in 2029.
I hate to say it, but it could swing either way, depending upon. I mean, because there's different scenarios, but we don't want to get political.
No. But AI is real, and
yeah, a little creepy.
Yeah,
some of it
very scary,
especially some of these like deep fake videos that they put out. That's borderline intrusive and very, very creepy.
Right? So me and my dad and my sister, we watched this movie the other day. It's called Accidental Texan. And the kid in the movie, he is from Boston. And I was like, oh, hey, I'm talking to a guy from Massachusetts. And I just thought it was kind of funny. But it was actually a really good movie. Have you ever seen it?
I can't say that I have.
It has Christopher Hayden Church in it, and he's like a oil drill, I guess, manager or owner of a company that drills for oil. And this kid comes to town who's an actor, but he went to Harvard, and he helps him with his business. And it's a really good movie. It's on Disney. If you have Disney, we watched it 2 days ago, and I'm still thinking about it. It It's a pretty good movie.
If
it came
I
out.
have Disney. Of course I have Disney.
Yeah. You should watch it. It's pretty good. We really liked it. It was really funny. There's a lot of good stuff in it. And
well, now guess what I'm going to run over and do on your recommendation later on this evening.
You going to watch it?
Yes.
Yay!
I'll tell you what I think about it.
It's a pretty good film. We really enjoyed it. My dad's like, "You guys always want to watch romantic comedies." And I had literally just told him about this movie. And I was like, this is I thought it was a Western because the promo picture is Christopher Hinchurch in a cowboy hat. And I was like, look, it's a Western. It was kind of Western-y because it's in Texas, but it's, up to date. It's nowadays.
I'm a pretty easy sell when it comes to movies. You can either ruin it for me a little bit and tell me you love the movie and I'm going to go run and watch it, or just tell me you absolutely hated the movie and then I'm intrigued because I love things most people hate.
Exactly. Well, I really did like it. It's a very good movie. I've never heard anybody talk about it. I just happened to see it on there, and we were all entertained and laughed and had a good time. So definitely.
Up until this moment, I had never heard of the movie, or I should say, I've never heard anything about the movie, but I've heard of the name of the movie.
Oh, okay.
So I didn't have anything to go by. Now I have a little bit to go by.
Yeah. It's a pretty good movie. So I recommend. And last night you went into a concert. How was it?
I kind of went to a concert.
Oh.
Kind of went to a concert.
Oh, no. Were you physically there, but your mind wasn't?
The venue is an hour and a half away from me to begin with. And, I didn't do the thing that you're supposed to do when you're going to some place that's a great distance from you. Plan for the inevitable traffic.
Oh, yeah.
I planned by the app that just said, hey, you got an hour and a half and you'll be there. And I plugged it in and I went off to go to this concert. It was Korn, Gojira, and Spirit Box.
Yeah.
We missed all of Spirit Box and part of the Gojira set because we didn't think about the fact that these concerts cause an insane amount of traffic, and this is right off of the highway exit.
Oh, wow.
And so we went for what was supposed to be an hour and a half drive, and it turned into a 3-hour drive because the last mile and a half to get there took an hour and a half to get in.
Well, did everybody not plan on being there when the concert started?
I think most people were just going to see Korn.
Probably, yeah.
I think the other two groups there may have just been sort of, hey, you're here, but this is not why we're here.
Yeah, I got to be honest, never heard of the other two, but I've definitely heard of Korn.
I have listened to both groups via my son's recommendations, and I like them both, and I'm a little disappointed. This is the second time in a row that we've missed out on seeing Spirit Box due to ill preparedness.
You would have thought you would have learned from that and been there early.
Oh, wait, hold on. I'm 47 years old, and I'm supposed to learn to. I'm supposed to learn now, right? Start learning.
Yeah, you're supposed to be like the Terminator, and you learn from just hanging out with humans.
No, I'm the old dog that actively avoids learning new tricks. Actively avoids it.
Well, was Korn good?
Korn was excellent. I really enjoyed the set that they did. We got the last half of Gojira, and thankfully we did not miss their most popular song, so that was A-okay by me. And I got plenty of video.
Yeah, I was telling my sister that you were seeing Korn, and she was like, I don't know Korn. I go, Freak on a Leash. Come on. And she was like, no. I was like, I bet you know this song. I played it, and she's like, I don't know this. And I was like, whatever.
Let me just tell you how old I felt at this concert. I'm sitting here with my 19-year-old kid, and And Korn, it gets on stage and immediately goes, "We're here to celebrate 30 years of Korn." And I'm sitting here, 30 years. That means I was listening to them when I was his age.
Right.
And I immediately was like, I can feel more of the gray hair growing in. Damn it. Ugh.
Yeah. Well, I was playing the song for my sister, and of course the video played. And it kind of reminded me of this movie, like the bullet that just keeps like going and shattering stuff. And I was like,
okay.
I was like, that's kind of fun.
So Terminator 2.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. So what is it about apocalypse and those kind of things that everything has to be dirty? Like, why is it so messy on the streets of LA in 2029? Or actually not 2029, when he comes to in 97. That's the time frame, right?
Actually, 1991.
Oh, really?
Yeah. This is early 90s.
I swear they kept saying it was 1997.
No, that's what I'm looking at right here, unless IMDb is steering me wrong.
Well, the movie may have come out in 91, but I thought they kept saying it was 1997. Well, it doesn't matter.
Oh, it was 1997 in the film. Yes.
Okay.
I see what you're saying.
But like the streets, why are they so dirty? California, like clean it up.
I think that this one line in the movie specifically that kind of explains it vaguely, and that is it is in human nature to destroy ourselves.
Oh, well, that is true.
And so to focus on the dark, the gritty, is actually fairly appropriate for an apocalyptic movie like this. When's the last time you saw an apocalyptic movie and everything was sunshiny and happy?
That's true. But this is before the apocalypse, you know? Like, this is before Mad Max.
This is after Sarah's disillusionment has been broken. So there's that whole scene where she's standing at the fence, looking on what I believe what her life would have been if she was just happily naive about what was going on.
Yeah.
That basically her as that naive girl playing with John in the park. Just like, pay attention to things around you, because that's what she's screaming, shaking the fence like, no, pay attention.
Yeah. Yeah. Her monologue was a lot. She had a lot of little monologue montages throughout the latter half of the film, and I was like, Sarah, shut up.
I kind of felt like some of that monologue was not even necessary.
Yeah, it really wasn't. And I was just like, shut your face, Sarah.
Like the whole father figure monologue about her, the Terminator playing with him. This is the best father figure he's ever had. It's like, oh, all of a sudden you're considering one of the Terminators a father figure to John.
Right.
Yeah.
I was just like, stop it. It's so weird and cringy.
Or her saying that this Terminator will never leave his side, and this, that, and the other thing. But the whole movie ends on a downer, and we'll get to that.
Yeah. Yeah. So James Cameron does this movie, and I always like his stuff. Not a fan of a couple of his movies, but typically I like James Cameron movies. Are you a fan?
I mean, James Cameron is like, as far as I'm concerned, is 50-50 regarding movies, whether or not I like them. I think that sometimes he goes a little too far. Yeah. Like with franchises, like, okay, I didn't really like the most recent Terminator. Is it the most recent one? Was it Dark Fate?
There was one that came out.
He finally came
2024, right?
There was 2019.
Oh,
the one before that was Terminator Genesis, which was 2015. So yeah, Dark Fate. He's had something to do with each of the Terminator movies, and I feel like after T2, they were just trying really hard to just bank on the franchise, and it just got a little murky.
Yeah.
Like he's got 3 more Avatar movies in the works.
Ugh, God, I hate Avatar. As much as I love James Cameron, that's the one movie that I just can't. I can't.
I loved the original Avatar.
Nope, never saw it. It creeps me out.
The Way of Water I didn't like.
I love horror movies, but something about those weird, creepy blue people just really, I can't. I just like, I look at the commercial and I'm like, no, I cannot watch that.
These aren't meant to be creepy films though, are they?
No, they're not. That's what I'm saying. Like, I love horror movies. Those scare people, but that doesn't scare me. But those little blue creatures freak me out. I don't like them. It doesn't look interesting at all. And actually, honestly, if I'm being really honest, it pisses me off that it is his highest grossing film, because Titanic is way better and was his highest grossing film until the stupid Avatar.
I used to like Titanic. I used to like it.
Well, you did see it a gazillion times with the ladies, right?
I talked to you about that before. I saw it way too many times when it first came out directly in the theaters, and it's like, this is the drawback to having a multitude of female friends. It's that, like, hey, you know, the guy that's on the buddy level, they take that guy to the film. Most of them didn't take their boyfriends; they take me to the film.
Well,
like, and okay,
you should be more mad than anybody that stupid Avatar did better in sales than Titanic, since you single-handedly did half of it yourself.
I will admit, I only watched Avatar once to the multitudes of times that I watched Titanic.
Well, see?
So Titanic was worth watching multiple times. Avatar got one watch out of me. I'm done. I'm good.
Yeah. It didn't even get a watch out of me. It's gross.
But he's got a lot of films that were really good that I liked, and then there's a lot of films that he did that I went, he was, I guess, trying to come into his own, and maybe that wasn't the best movie.
Yeah. So I find it very interesting that these robots I don't know, what are they called? I guess the Terminators, whatever.
Terminators, cyborgs, I guess.
Cyborgs. They can do incredible things. They're very smart. They're very intelligent. They can drive backwards while shooting a gun. Very impressive. But they can't go through time and wear clothes? Or, I don't know, land themselves in a clothing store?
Yeah, why do they have to come back naked?
I don't know. But when they get set on fire and they become a puddle, they can regenerate and they're wearing clothes. Right. Pristine clothes. So I don't understand the science of that.
Which makes you wonder, did the T-1000 actually need to steal that cop's clothes? Like, did he need to steal the cop's clothes? Because they seem to melt away with him throughout the rest of the film. Like, he can create perfect copies of other people's clothing as well. So why did he need to steal the cop's clothes that time?
Yeah, I don't know. And why did he have to kill the guy to do it? Couldn't he just...
Actually, I don't think... Now that I'm thinking about it, I don't think that he stole the cop's clothes. I'm just now thinking about it. I think he only stole the gun.
Well, he gets in the cop's uniform. Or he's in a cop uniform.
I think he just took on the form of the cop's uniform. Still doesn't explain why he came back naked. But I think he stole the gun because they can't... The T-1000s, while they can kind of create certain things, they can't physically emulate things with mechanical parts.
Yeah.
So that's why he needs to pick up guns while he goes along.
One thing that's really interesting is that he can mimic looking like other people, but he doesn't mimic looking like the cop. Just his outfit.
I mean, he does with other people.
I know. That's what's really interesting, is that he doesn't take on the persona of that cop. You would have thought the cop would have kind of looked like him or something. I don't know. But I do find it very interesting that he steals a cop car and then he's chasing people. And so it looks like he's a cop. And that's probably why no one ever intervenes, because they're like, oh, well, they must have done something wrong because a cop is chasing him.
Wow, that's police brutality right there. We don't know who this cop is, though. Even if he called it in, it's like, hey, this cop, blah, blah, blah. He's not on our force.
Yeah.
Oh, that might explain why we find one of our police officers dead in the alley the other day.
Or when he's like, hey, that's a nice motorcycle.
Yeah, how did he get away with that one? It's like, it's a nice bike.
I'm going to take that.
Well, or when he emulated the original cop the entire time, though, we wouldn't have gotten the beautiful face of young Robert Patrick throughout the entire film.
And it's a menacing face. Like,
you know what they
scary.
You know what they should have done?
What?
You know the cop that initially finds him?
Uh-huh.
They should have had that guy be Robert Patrick.
Yes.
And the guy that came through the first time be him.
Yeah. That's what I thought would have been more interesting, because he takes on personas. So why didn't he take on the persona of that cop? So it would have made more sense for that cop to be that guy, to be, that character. But
yeah, I think that would have made a lot more sense.
Yeah. Come on, James Cameron. Jeez. Stupid.
Hindsight is 2020.
One part that I thought was really interesting is the first time we see the Terminator, and he goes in, he's naked, goes into the bar, and the bar is playing Guitars and Cadillacs, the song. Yeah. We actually had a place called Guitars and Cadillacs where I grew up, and my sister used to go there. I've been there a couple times when I was in high school, but that just was kind of a fun little thing, because it was a country bar, just like that.
I feel like I've seen the name somewhere up here, too.
Oh, I wonder if it's a franchise.
I'm going to have to go look that up. Well, I mean, it's been since 1991. They had this Guitars and Cadillacs thing right there in the movie. I wonder if maybe it franchised out or inspired some people to open similar bars.
Could be. I think that he won their respect, all the bikers, when he was leaving, because he, was a badass. And I think they respected him.
Like, I love that they played him out on Bad to the Bone.
I like that he took the sunglasses. It completes the outfit. Without that, he just looked ridiculous.
It also kind of gave you the idea. For like 5 seconds when he was walking into the bar, I didn't know if he was going to be the bad guy in this film too.
Yeah.
Or not.
Yeah.
And so you could tell that he was going to be the good guy in this film, because he did not kill anybody in that bar.
No.
Not a single person that came at him.
He did injure the guy on the stove pretty good, but, he didn't kill him.
He injured several people. But as the Terminator will say in this film, he'll live.
He'll live, yeah.
He'll live.
Yeah, I love how he goes, I swear I won't kill anybody. And then 2 seconds later, he almost kills this guy. He's like, he'll live.
Shoots out his kneecaps, he'll live. He won't be able to walk, but he'll live. Like he's going to be living with titanium kneecaps the remainder of his days.
Right. Or when he takes that female cop and he just like palms her face and then pushes her.
The extremes that he has to go through to keep from hurting other people.
I know, right?
Like, I love the Gatling gun scene where he just mows down the entire parking lot full of vehicles, and then he scans the entire place. He's like 0 human casualties. Good. You didn't check to see if you killed anybody until after you blew up all the vehicles?
Yeah.
Oh, look, that worked out.
I see everything. Well, clearly not.
Clearly, you didn't see. You hoped you saw everything.
Yeah.
Let's check to make sure I didn't hurt anybody. Okay, I can tell him that I didn't kill anyone now.
So then we meet Ed Furlong for the first time. Little John.
Who's supposed to be playing a 10-year-old who apparently has his own dirt bike to travel through the city.
Right.
Neither of these kids look like they're 10, and that's because they're not.
They aren't. No. Well,
Edward Furlong, upon his discovery for this film, was 13 years old.
Well, that would make sense if it's 1997. Remember, it may have been shot in 91, but they're acting as if it's 97. So that he would have been about 13.
Yes, but if you look up, if you watched the first scene with the T-1000, when he looked up John Connor, it said he was 10 years old.
Yeah. Math don't math.
So it tagged him as a 10-year-old, and he's like, no, this is not 10. He's not 10 at all.
I think it's because, I don't know, that wouldn't even work with the other math, because he was born in 84. Or technically 85, I think. I think it said 85. Yeah, I don't know.
Would have been 85.
So weird.
So 13 years old would be appropriate. They shouldn't have made him 10 on that screen.
Yeah. There's a lot of problems, James Cameron, and math is one of them.
It's time travel. We don't need to explain anything. Just let it work itself out.
But I do love that his best friend is the redheaded kid from Salute Your Shorts.
Oh my God, right. I can't remember the kid's name either.
Yeah,
the only kid whose name that I remember is Donkey Lips.
Right?
It's the only kid whose name I remember. Everybody else is just like, oh, what was that kid's name? And then I'll have to research it and look it up.
Same. I mean, that's just it's a classic name.
Or the guy that plays the camp counselor, I do remember his name. His name was Ugg. Kevin Ugg Lee. So his nickname was Ugg. His last name was Lee, so it was Kevin Lee, but they called him Ugg Lee.
Oh. Didn't get that. Wow. I have to rewatch that.
One of those little things that fly under the radar when you're a kid.
Yeah. Never knew that.
Oh, I get the joke now, 20 years later.
So we find Sarah's in a nut house because the doctor put her there. I think it's real wrong that he's the only one that can decide if she gets to stay or go.
I'd want to murder him too if he pulled that shit on me.
Yeah.
Like, you tell the woman who obviously is homicidally psychotic, or you believe she is, that if you are under good behavior and you show improvement over 6 months, we will put you in a minimum security facility and we will allow you to have guests. And all she's doing is she's working towards being able to see her son so she can make sure her son is okay. And then after 6 months, he's like, you know what? I don't believe you. You're smart, you're manipulative, and you'll try to escape again if I put you there. So we're going to recommend you stay locked up for another 6 months.
Yeah.
And not for nothing, if I got to go and stay locked up another 6 months with the perv with the nightstick,
right?
I would want to kill that guy too.
Right? I was like, oh, he is not going to do what I think he's going to do. And then he licks her face. And I was like, oh my God.
Just up and licks her face. I mean, of all the things he could do, that was probably the least invasive, but still creepy as fuck.
Yeah, when he started to walk out, I thought he was going to shut the door. And I was like, she's going to kick your ass, sir.
I think that he was testing the waters to see, okay, well, she's almost in a catatonic state.
Yeah.
Tripped over my tongue first time today. I'm good now. And so I think he was just sort of testing the waters by licking her face to see, hey, what can I get away with? Is she going to hit me if I do this?
Well,
no? Okay, I'll be back later when nobody's paying attention.
Did you guys see her working out in her room doing pull-ups? I mean, she is ripped, and she will kick your ass, sir.
Oh, yeah. Her original version of Sarah Connor and what is going on here is like night and fucking day.
Yeah.
She was a certifiable badass in this film. I had absolutely no interest in her from the first movie. I didn't really like the original Beauty and the Beast because I don't like Linda Hamilton damsel in distress. But Linda Hamilton, badass, I was like, I'm on board with this. This is some like Ripley.
Yeah. You know, when we watched the first one, I remember not liking Sarah Connor later on. And I was just like, why don't I like her? And then I watched the first one and I was like, okay, I get why I don't like her. But then I watched this one and I was like, well, why did I not like her? Because she's a badass. And her name is Sarah. So I should like her instantly. But I liked her in this one better.
She played a damsel in distress in the first movie. Yeah. I felt like she was an off-putting character, honestly, in the first film.
It wasn't that she was a damsel in distress. It was that she seemed not aloof, but like, just like, what's happening? Where? Why? Just
why is all this happening to me?
Just get it together, ma'am.
Like, this dude's trying to save your life. Obviously, the other guy's trying to kill you.
Yeah.
Get up to speed quickly so we don't have to spend the entire movie going, oh my God, why won't she just stop?
Yeah. But in this one, she is awesome. So I like her a lot.
Definitely love, I almost called her Linda Carter. This is not Linda Carter.
No. So I like when the cop comes and asks his friend, do you know this kid? And he's like, nope. And then he walks over and he's like, hey, there's a cop looking for you. Let's go. I was like, that is a good friend, because if a cop had asked me, I'd be like, yes, sir. She's right over here.
Not just that. Like, he asked his friend if you've seen this kid, and he tried to convince him that he was elsewhere.
Yeah.
Like, oh, yeah, that guy that you're looking for, he's over there. And then the cop sees him out of the corner of his eye. It's like, yep, okay. I think the best part of that initial scene, the initial T-1000 finding John, is the chase down the corridor leading up to Arnie walking into the scene with a box of roses.
Yeah.
That's covering a shotgun.
Yeah. I was like, oh, that's so funny.
That was the best introduction to the two of them together. Just, how much did you pay attention to the stunts throughout the film?
I mean, pretty good attention, I'd say.
I think over the years, they found better people to be the stunt double for Arnold Schwarzenegger. But there are obvious scenes here where I guess if the film was a little bit more grainy, I wouldn't pay attention to it. But there's obvious scenes where you see the stunt double.
Yeah.
For a lengthy period of time. They didn't like adjust the shot so you weren't looking at the guy dead on. And I'm like, that's not Arnold Schwarzenegger at all. Like, I don't know who you thought that was supposed to be, but
yeah.
The first time I noticed it is the canal chase scene.
Oh, okay.
Where they cut away for a moment to show Arnold Schwarzenegger or his stunt double reach out to pick up John Connor off the bike.
Uh-huh.
And the far shot, you can absolutely tell that's not him. It almost looks like they made up Jean-Claude Van Damme to kind of look like him or something. And then they cut back and it's Arnold Schwarzenegger again when you can't see the wheels under his feet anymore.
Yeah. I will say he looks so much better in this movie than he did in the first one. The first one, he still had that like Conan the Barbarian look to him. But this one, he looked more like the Terminator. And he was way more attractive.
It was a weird combination of a bad haircut for some reason, still babyface, even though he was basically Mr. Olympia at the time.
Yeah.
It wasn't a good look overall. But then this film, he had the haircut, his face was a bit more cut, so like you could see the jawline.
Yes, yes. And I was like, okay, this is the Arnold I remember.
I haven't been spending half of this film talking about the beauty of the men in it. I haven't.
I mean, there is something about it. Like Like, he looks like a killer psychopath, but the cop guy, he's attractive, and he has piercing blue eyes. But
I may be straight as an arrow, but I am secure enough in my masculinity that I can comment on a beautiful man without a problem.
Well, good. As can I. I like how he just was. He just the truck driver doesn't see him coming, and all of a sudden the door is opening, and he like just pulls him out of the truck and gets in the truck. I was like, good God.
The on-foot pursuit, like he's just running full tilt.
Yeah.
I wanted to look that up to see if maybe like Robert Patrick was in track when he was younger. Because that full tilt sprint, that was him all the way.
Oh, yeah. He was so fast.
I don't know about the jump from the parking garage onto the truck as it was moving with him.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like they might have just cut that or used some sort of green screen effect to have one bit in the background and then just have him pop up on the truck and open the door. But that full tilt sprint was all him running throughout this film. Like, I have never seen running look like a horror movie before.
Yeah. Yeah. And it helps that the uniform fits him like a glove.
Right.
So he looks even faster because he's so sleek.
Well, I also think that sets up the stark contrast between the T800 and the T1000 models. Like, you have the liquid metal and the speed of the T1000 against the durability and the slow plodding nature of the T800.
Yeah.
So it's like the T800, the Arnold Schwarzenegger character, is like the old school horror villain, the one that no matter how fast you move, even if he's slow, he's going to catch up with you and find you.
Yep.
So he was reminiscent of like the old school Michael Myers and the Jasons and stuff like that, but in the sci-fi realm. And then Robert Patrick is just a whole new thing.
Right. Well, and I love that they're in the canals there in in LA. And I was like, oh, Grease. First thought that came to mind.
I have never been to LA before. Never.
Me neither.
I'm taking you must have. Oh, it sounded like you had.
Oh, I have. I've been there one time, but no, because in Greece when they're doing the race part, it's in that same place. Yeah, I like several movies are filmed in that canal, in that same stretch, but this one you see way more of it than you normally do. But usually in that like wider section is where a lot of movies take place.
Pardon me for taking about 30 seconds to catch up to your comment. Just mentally, you said Grease, and I just glossed over like, I don't think I understand that. And then 30 seconds later, I'm like, oh yeah, the race in the canal.
Yeah. Well, what's funny is that literally Grease was on the day before we watched this, so it was in my head, and then we watched that, and I was like, oh, Grease.
It's been a while since I've watched Grease. I will admit.
Yeah.
Not that I don't like the film. I love Grease. It's been a little while since I've watched it.
So why do you think that they keep shooting at him even though they know it won't kill him? Like, it makes sense later in the movie when, he's over hot magma. But before that, it just stops him for like a few seconds.
I think that might be the purpose. This is just a fast, constantly moving killing machine that goes at high speed. And the only way to slow him down, even for a few minutes, to put some distance between you and him, is to shoot. And incapacitate him to the point that he can't keep moving forward after you.
I like when I first saw this movie long time ago, when they shoot him and he gets that like crevice in him, the crater or whatever. and it's all the alloy metal or whatever. It looked so cool. This time when I saw it, I was like, it looks like tinfoil was just attached to his outfit. And my dad said, it's aluminum. And I said, it may be trying to be aluminum, but that definitely looks like tinfoil.
I remember watching this film the first time in theaters, and the special effects back then in 91 were
good.
Revolutionary. They were amazing. You're watching this like, wow, that's amazing. It's great. And then you realize like years later, we're 30 years into the future now, right? Mm-hmm. You realize several decades later, that was the beginning point of a lot of current special effects.
Yeah.
Now it kind of looks a little laughable.
Yes.
It's fun, but laughable.
Yeah, because, like you can't watch the movies the same way you did before because it looked so cool then. And then you're like, this is so stupid.
I think that's why I've always enjoyed films that relied on practical effects over special effects, because the effects don't seem as bad in retrospect.
Yeah.
The color of the blood might be a little off, or some of the prosthetics might not look quite as good as the current ones. But like old CGI versus new CGI is definitely, there's been big leaps and bounds, and some of it looks a little under animated compared to what they do now.
Yeah.
Biggest film to really have that feeling, go and watch Spawn. Because the special effects were even actually kind of terrible by that day's perspective. And so if it was bad back then, imagine how horrible it looks now.
Oh, yeah. Or like Land of the Lost. Wasn't that a TV show?
Oh. Like Land of the Lost that they turned into a movie?
Yeah. Like, I don't know.
Oh, right. Land of the Lost. They did a lot of claymation for Land of the Lost, didn't they?
Yeah, it's really bad.
Stop motion animation.
Yeah. So bad.
There was a film, there's an old film that I'll recommend to you. If you like Paul Walker?
Oh, yes.
Okay. One of Paul Walker's first films was a movie called Tammy and the T-Rex.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So there's two different versions of it. There's the cleaned up version, and then there's the rated R version of the film. And the whole point is that early in the film, Paul Walker bites it, and his brain is transferred into the body of an animatronic T-Rex.
Oh, good Lord.
Yeah.
Of course it was.
Weird villain's plot to rule the world, or the Tri-County area. Sorry, I'm going by the whole Phineas and Ferb thing. But, yeah. It's a rough movie to watch, but there's a lot of stop motion animation for some of the far away shots in there, so you can have Denise Richards riding a T-Rex.
Oh, okay.
In the R version of it that they put out, they didn't clean it up at all, so it literally just looks like somebody riding a stop motion dinosaur. Horrible.
Yeah, that sounds terrible.
So I'm recommending a terrible film to you because it is so bad you will laugh your ass off.
Oh, that sounds awful.
How does this exist? Anything with Denise Richards in a lead role, how does this exist?
The only movie that I really like her in is Drop Dead Gorgeous.
Yeah, she was not bad in that.
Yeah, she's the only one that doesn't have an accent because she can't do an accent.
Right? It's like what is his name? Sean Connery. When they put him in all these different movies where he's supposed to have an accent for the role, but he does not. They just wanted Sean Connery. Like in Highlander when he's supposed to play a Spaniard, but there's no Spanish accent. Or in The Hunt for Red October where he is supposed to play a Russian, but there is no Russian accent.
I'm Sean Connery.
It's just Sean Connery. That's it. When you hire Sean Connery, you're getting Sean Connery. It's just like trying to say, hey, Nick, we need you to do an accent. Nicolas Cage? Nah. Only accent that he could ever get down pat is like Deep South. That's it. He could do Deep South with no problem. Anything else, forget it.
I don't know. Surfer guy kind of sounds like he can do that.
Surfer guy. Oh. I'll send you a link for something like old surfer guy. He did a TV show with Crispin Glover way back when. Crispin, you know who Crispin Glover is, right? The thin man from the Charlie's Angels movies and
I think so.
The dad from Back to the Future.
Yeah.
Well, in this particular one episode series that they were trying to do, they were trying to make a series out of it. He basically plays a kind of dumb jock. So you get surfer boy, dumb jock out of Nicolas Cage for this entire film. They just had him with his shirt off the entire time. Back when he was still Nicholas Coppola.
Oh, okay.
Very early Nick Cage.
Yeah. One day someone was like, do you know who he's related to? And I was like, yeah. And they're like, oh.
Why do you think he dropped that last name? Because he knew that he wasn't, they were expecting big things out of him because he was related to the Coppolas, you know? And he didn't want to have that name weigh him down in his career. So Nick Cage, I'm going to be my own person. And now we have decades of Nick Cage to just enjoy for the good or the bad.
I like that he played a movie. He played himself.
Oh, right. Nick Cage as Nick Cage in a movie about him being unbelievably talented. Was it like The Unbearable Weight of Extraordinary Talent or something like that?
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, that is a vain name for a project where you basically play yourself.
Yeah. So I have a note here that says he is terrifying. And I'm pretty sure that was about the cop.
Robert Patrick?
Yeah, Robert Patrick.
Robert Patrick has had some good, creepy roles.
Well, like, it's when his head is down, but he looks up. It is so menacing. And I was like, he is like, if he was actually a cop and he came to my window and he was looking at me like that, I would die. Like, I'd be like, oh God, he's going to murder me.
Right. He's absolutely terrifying. Like, he's had a couple of movies that I've watched him in where I was just like, wow, like he does creepy so well. Yeah. One of the best ones is the 1998 horror film, The Faculty.
Oh yeah.
Where he played the
coach.
The coach.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was just, ooh.
Yeah.
I don't have any other word for it. But he does Goofy very well too. He can play Goofy.
Well, what's funny is that I have a note that says he is terrifying, and then I put, well, he is now. And I don't know what that was referencing, if he is now more terrifying or if, what? But I thought that was weird.
I would say he's less terrifying now than he was.
Yeah.
I think he spent plenty of time being extremely serious. And there are some movies or TV shows even, that you can watch him and he's just not terrifying.
Yeah.
He's just funny.
I like the part where they call his parents or foster parents, and he's like, she's acting different. And he's like, hey, how's Wolfie?
How's Wolfie? Like, Wolfie's fine. It's like, your parents are dead.
Of all the names, why would he pick Wolfie?
I think because he's like the Arnold Schwarzenegger said, I don't know, maybe later in the movie, the more he spends or more time he spends around humans, the better he understands them.
Yeah.
So I think that he was still trying to learn how to mimic human beings at that point.
Well, what's funny is that like stereotypical dog names, Rover, Buddy, Bella, like all those kind of things, and he chooses Wolfie.
Think about it though. Wolfie is a ridiculous name.
True.
For a dog. So he picked a name that if the T-1000 said, yeah, Wolfie's fine, you know, he's like, yeah, okay, I know. I understand this is definitely, the dog's dead. Parents are dead. Let's move on.
To be fair, only one of them was dead. The other one died because she killed him because he was acting like a dick. He wasn't dead yet.
He probably should have died a little earlier in the film. Yeah.
Yeah, he's kind of a dick.
I didn't like him. I didn't like either of the parents. My mother did a lot of foster parenting, and it kind of reminded me of some of these parents that just kind of took kids in for a paycheck.
Oh yeah.
They like the kids. Just hey, this is payday right here. That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah. Let's see here. We already talked about Sarah being a badass. Though I do love when the Terminator does come in and then the other guy comes in and the doctor drops the cap to his syringe and he's just like, oh shit, she was right. Oh.
I want to roll back to the dad for just a minute. Do you know who he is?
The dad?
Yeah, the dad.
The foster dad?
The foster dad.
Oh, no.
Have you watched The Walking Dead?
No.
Oh, okay. Never mind. You wouldn't recognize the guy then.
Yeah, no.
The Walking Dead, there's a character in the Hilltop, or the original leader of this place called the Hilltop in The Walking Dead you see in the later seasons, called Gregory, who's an absolute self-serving dick. Even though he runs the place, you know, he's just an absolute self-serving dick, like up until the time that he bites it. But I already didn't like the guy to begin with in this particular role. I was like, yep, he's a dick here too.
Yeah. You know, there's a comedian that talks about The Walking Dead, and I think about it quite often. He goes, you know, they're zombies, but they have human teeth. He goes, wear leather because they can't bite through that. He goes, I've had a sandwich that was too toasted and couldn't get through it. I think about that all the time.
Well, that's why I think that there's several characters that do wear leather throughout the series.
Yeah.
They wear clothing that has like a thick hide to it to keep the walkers from biting them, but a lot of it takes place in Georgia. There's only so much leather you want to wear in that heat.
Well, okay. First of all, drive away. Just why are you continuing to live there? There are other places you could go. Go north.
I think that's what happens after the series ends, if I'm not mistaken.
This
is just the group that tries 12 years.
Took them 12 years to be like, oh, maybe we should get out of here.
I actually think that probably about 15 to 20 years passed within the actual series, because later on in the series, they make like leaps forward of a few years here and there.
Yeah.
To like age up certain characters and move the plot along. So I think that you're probably talking like 15 to 20 years by the time this series ends.
I mean,
and then they move out to other places.
I don't want to like say anything about Georgia and maybe the education in Georgia, but to me, that would be day one. Be like, hey, we need to wear stuff that these zombies can't eat through. So let's wear leather and let's get the fuck out of here. Let's go north, maybe, or to the mountains.
I existed in Georgia for 13 years, almost 13 years. And I will say that in the time that I lived there, Georgia ranked 48th in the United States in education. There are good places to get an education in Georgia, but it's difficult to find, especially in the smaller communities.
Yeah. 48th. Who was below them?
Out of 48th out of 50 states. I'm not sure. I think one of the Carolinas, and I can't remember what was 50th. I know one of the Carolinas ranked below, like 49 or something. I can't remember what was number 50.
I feel like that would be more South Carolina than North Carolina, but, you know, I don't want to judge.
You got to look at. That's one of those things you got to look up because I think it changes year to year depending upon testing.
I don't know.
But, yeah, there's a lot of stuff in this film that I really loved. There's a couple of things that I just had a little bit of difficulty with.
Yeah.
Like you were saying earlier on, Sarah Connor's voiceover felt like it was out of place in certain areas.
Yeah, it was just very weird. Like, the movie isn't about you. It's about John. So if we had, like, older John's perspective, that would have made more sense.
Right.
But to have it come from her just seems weird.
I think, like, what they did at the end of the original film, where they had the voiceover at the very end.
That made sense.
That made sense. It doesn't make sense to have it kind of littered throughout the film unless you just had trouble explaining certain things, which I don't think you needed to explain that the Terminator was a father figure to the young man. Like, well, his foster dad was an asshole. He doesn't know his biological father because you've advised him that his biological father exists far, far in the future.
Yeah.
So him needing a father figure, that's obvious.
Exactly. When the Robert Patrick, when he walks through the wall, through the gate, and the doctor sees him, he's just like, oh, shit. I wonder if in that moment he was like, I wonder if my other patients are telling the truth too. You know, like, this girl, you've been harping that she is a crazy person and this Terminator doesn't really exist. And now all of a sudden you're like, oh, crap. Maybe they do exist. I wonder if you're like, she's been seeing the Easter Bunny. Maybe it does exist.
To see a short Terminator miniseries revolving around the psychologist that kept telling her and trying to convince her that she was absolutely batshit crazy. Just him falling apart as he slowly realizes that she was right about everything.
Right. I wonder if he then goes to like a therapist and they're like, okay, we're going to have to put you in the nut house for a bit.
Just a couch session, basically, with where he's basically kind of going over everything. Like, okay, so I thought that she was crazy and there was no evidence and that she was just making the whole thing up and all these people got murdered around her and this guy who got killed, whose fingerprints don't show up in any database, and he's just a John Doe, that he was murdered by her. And she was just slowly devolving into all sorts of crazy, and I wanted to keep her locked up. And then all the crazy came crashing through the door one day, shortly after I was about to be injected with drain cleaner. And then he ends up in a straitjacket.
Well, it's kind of
trying to work all that out.
Kind of reminds me of Roseanne. Did you ever watch it, the first run?
Yeah, I watched all of Roseanne.
Okay,
first run and the Connors.
So when they have two different Beckys, and then later they show like a flash forward, and DJ is played by Dan, and he's at a therapist, and he's just like, they say she's the same, but she isn't the same. They say she's the same, but she isn't the same. We talk about that all the time at our house. I don't know why, but we reference that, and I could just see the doctor being like that and be like, I didn't think he was real, but he was real. He walked through walls. They say she's the same, but she isn't the same.
Like, how did he walked through the bars and it was like, I don't get it.
He would really be fucked up if he saw him come up from the floor.
Right? Just that whole... Well, there's got to be cameras in the place. He's probably seen the footage.
Right?
Of what happened.
I would feel like that when... Like, kind of like a vampire. Like, you can't see them in a mirror. Like, I wonder if because it's liquid, like, you couldn't see it happening.
Oh, no, definitely. He's physical.
Okay.
That's a physical manifestation. He definitely had to have been able to see that on tape.
Huh.
This thing just kind of grow up from the ground and become the absolute doppelganger of the cop he's about to kill. Must be my lucky day. 2 seconds later, dead.
And this is like right before that, we have the "come with me if you want to live."
Right. The line that was completely transplanted from the original film.
Right.
"Come with me if you want to live."
I guess that's
which
why
had to have been programmed.
I guess that's why when the other guy does it in the first film, I was like, I thought Arnold said that. This is why. Because he does.
Right. So that scene, the cop that he kills, the security guard or cop or whatever, that was actually twins.
Oh, really?
So the cops looking at each other, basically that whole interaction, it was two guys. They're twins.
Oh.
So they didn't need to use CGI or mirror effects for that. They literally hired twins to play both of the cops.
Oh, that's cool.
I thought that was interesting. I didn't know that at first, and as I was looking over the film, I'm like, oh, they're twins. Well, that makes it a hell of a lot easier.
Yeah. I don't know how I would feel if I turned around and I was looking at myself. I'd be like, I wouldn't, I don't know. He didn't make a sound or anything. And the next thing you know, he has a sword through his head. But
if I turned around and was staring directly at myself like 2 seconds later, yeah, I definitely would have an almost pants wetting moment, especially considering myself looks very menacing at myself.
Yeah, I think I would have like turned back around and be like, what? And then I'd turn back around again and be like, oh my God, that's not a mirror.
Dawn and Dan Stanton. They've actually been in a couple of movies together as twins, including stuff like the Gremlins movies, Good Morning Vietnam, Mom and Dad Save the World, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that was their thing. Just two guys, just two twins getting hired because they're twins.
That's very interesting.
Like they've never done anything separately. They've always worked together.
Yeah. I love how he's able to morph his like hands while he's doing stuff into like hooks or screws or whatever he needs. So when he's like trying to climb onto the car while they're driving away, he has like these weird hook things. And then when he gets blown off and it's part of it's on there, I was like, oh, does he have to pick up all of his pieces? And then he comes over and it like absorbs into his body. What do you think would happen if he didn't pick up that piece?
I actually don't know. I mean, I would wonder if you could somehow, I mean, they didn't know it at the time in this film, obviously, because they're fighting against something they're unfamiliar with. But I wonder if somehow you could separate him into parts.
Yeah.
And just separate the parts and they wouldn't be able to get back together. Because it seems like the hook was unable to reanimate itself until it got closer to the original subject.
Yeah.
Back to Robert Patrick, and he was able to meld it back into his boot.
But like at the end, when he falls into that hot magma, they have to throw in all those other pieces.
Right.
So if he hadn't picked up that one piece, could he potentially still be there?
Well, here's my thought. It's not about picking up the piece, but the molten metal, right?
Yeah.
At some point, they're going to use it to make something.
Oh.
Once it cools down, can it bring itself back together, because they proved that you can freeze it and break it into a bunch of pieces, and once it thaws, it'll put itself back together.
Ooh,
so could they create a film sometime down the road where, I don't know, they make some vehicle or something, and then somehow the parts end up back together? Like some guy, it wasn't together, then some guy like starts to put, a vehicle together via different parts, like some auto mechanic, or I don't know. I'm trying to think of a convoluted way to separate the pieces, then put them all back together. A collector putting a car back together and somehow ends up with all the parts that were originally from this factory, made from the molten metal from that factory.
Yeah. That'd be a badass car.
A Terminator Transformer.
I was just going to say, that's how it became the Transformers.
Transforminator.
Is he dead? He's been terminated.
Don't worry, he'll be back.
Hasta la vista, baby. I do love that conversation. I was like, who talks like that? Edward Furlong? Like, he's like, this is what we say when we do this, and this is what we say when we do that. And I was like, who says this? We did after the movie because, it was popular, but
the hasta la vista baby thing, I think, came from his mother having a hidden out, I guess, in Mexico for a period of time when he was raising him, before she got caught and put in the nut bin.
Yeah.
Because they said that she had only been in there for 6 months. So it must have been like she hadn't been locked up all that long. She had been in hiding for a while, taking care of John till he got put in foster care after she was arrested. So she obviously spent a lot of time. I guess this must have been Texas that she drove out to.
I thought it was
heading to Mexico.
I don't know. I thought it was more Mexico.
Like New Mexico or something?
Well, no, I think it's Mexico because, they go from California. You can get from the border from California to Mexico pretty quickly. And back then you didn't have to have a passport.
You can tell how often I've been in that region and how often I've actually looked at a map of the United States. I'm showing my intelligence right here.
It's okay. You went to school in Georgia, so we already talked about that.
I didn't go to school in Georgia. I went to school in Massachusetts. We've always been around the top 5. The problem is that I had severe ADHD and a lot of family problems, so I didn't pay any fucking attention in school. None. So all of my education has been, for the most part, since about grade 6, self-serving education, where I read a lot, and I do my own thing, and I do a lot of research online, and I'm putting that in quotation marks that you can't see, because you can fall down a hole of bad sites to get information from really easily on the internet.
Yeah.
So you've got to sort through a lot of shit to get to the actual educational shit.
Yeah. So we find out that there's a guy who created this whole entire thing, and Sarah tries to go and murder him, but then kind of gets cold feet. But shoots the crap out of him. It just, like hurts his arm, scares his kid. Right. And then me and my sister were like, well, you're a nurse. Go help him, because his wife plays, she's a director of the hospital on Chicago Med, and she was a former nurse, and we were like, you're a former nurse, help him.
No, she was just there to scream and cower in fear.
Right.
And hold her husband after he's been shot.
I wonder if they think Sarah killed him.
A single mom.
Yeah. I wonder if, because, she doesn't know how he died. Maybe they think, oh, he fixed this and then they killed him. She probably doesn't know that it was other people.
I was going to say, he blew himself up. That's pretty obvious how he dies.
Well, before
my husband die?
Before he blew himself up, he was shot. He was probably going to die anyways.
Right. I mean, if here's the thing. How did the Terminator not know that this was going to happen?
Yeah. You should know Sarah by now.
I mean, it's obvious that she never changes the future because the future keeps coming.
Yeah.
Even after this guy got killed and they threw everything in molten lava, we still have 4 other movies?
Yep. It didn't work.
Didn't work. I'm actually excited to watch some of the other garbage movies because I forgot how they explained away the fact that they melted everything down in this film.
Yeah, I never watched the TV show either, but I wonder if they go more in depth with that since they can.
Oh, are we going to binge the TV show?
Oh, dear God. We do not.
I don't think it had that many seasons. There's not a lot of episodes attached to the television show. I'm not sure if it's its own thing or if it explains more.
I guess we could watch the pilot and decide.
You know what we could do?
What
is if you'd like next year around Halloween, we can just do one episode on the TV show so we have a little time to watch it instead of having to binge it all at once.
Yeah.
I don't know. Whatever you'd like to do.
Well, I can tell you this. I can't find the third Terminator.
You can't?
No.
Rise of the Machines?
Yeah. It's not streaming anywhere except unless you want to pay for it.
Yeah, it's not I don't think there's a free streaming service at all.
Yeah, which is really funny because the first 2 are on streaming. And then the 4th one is on Netflix because it's newer. But then the 3rd one, for some reason, is just...
Well, in Terminator Rise of the Machines, I think, it's gotten a lot of love afterwards, but it was panned. A lot of people didn't really like it.
It has Claire Danes.
They tore it apart for Christina Loken, Claire Danes. I liked Nick Stahl up until after this movie.
I was like, Claire Danes is in it? Oh.
The only 2 returning characters in this film are literally Arnold Schwarzenegger and Earl Bowen, who plays the doctor.
Yeah.
Psychiatrist. But yeah, no, it's not streaming anywhere unless you want to literally purchase it.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure there's got to be some place that's just offhandedly like a YouTube or something.
Yeah,
somebody buried it somewhere.
But
we'll find it.
Is there anything else you have on this movie? Definitely the best in the series.
This is my favorite film in the series, and probably the only reason why I've continued to watch the Terminator spin-offs and movies since then. They even have an anime that they just did recently.
Oh, wow.
That's on Netflix for the Terminator.
Oh,
so I'm actually...
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I guess because I'd been looking it up for doing this I look at Google every day and it tells me different stories. And one of them was about problems with the first Terminator. And I was like, oh, that's so funny because we just watched that.
There are plenty of problems with the first Terminator.
Yeah.
You got to look over them to be able to watch the other movies.
Right.
I would have liked to, like we were talking about with the one piece that couldn't seem to animate itself till it reattached itself to Robert Patrick. I would have liked to have seen maybe an alternate ending or an alternate cut to the film where they didn't even get to the molten metal part, where this thing was cryogenically frozen and the Terminator just gathered up the parts and separated them across the country.
Yeah.
Because that could have led to another film being made. I'm wondering, and like I said, it's been a while since I've seen the other films, if they get around or they explain away the molten metal thing, the heat or them burning down these things, if they have figured out how to fix that flaw.
Yeah.
Because it can't be frozen for very long because those parts will melt and come back to life. So does it work the other way? If it's been melted down by high heat, once it's cooled down, does it come back to life?
Yeah. That would have been more interesting. Also, if they never picked up that piece, I would have liked when at the end of the movie it just goes to that road and then you see like something in the distance and then it like pulls in and it's starting to shape shift or whatever. That would have been really interesting.
I'm thinking like some junk artist who has like picked up metal scraps to put together some massive sculpture, and they end up finding the last piece of the hook, and they're like, oh, this is the perfect piece to complete my sculpture, and she attaches it, and then the whole thing comes back to life.
or a homeless person, because you know they love to show homeless people back in the 90s with like their little cart, and they are picking up metal so they can take it to the place to get some money. Yeah. And they just put it in their little cart with all the other metal, and then it starts to like bubble and shift.
As soon as he puts the hook into the cart, it's dun 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 dun.
Yeah.
Dun dun dun, and then the Terminator music starts playing.
Like, wouldn't that have been cool? And that would have set you up for the third one.
That's definitely a way to like approach a movie with a comedic beginning, like a real quick like comedic opening to the film, just like some homeless person unwittingly putting all the pieces back together because he put it all in there with his aluminum cans and other metal.
Yeah. And it just had just enough juice that it was able to quantify and start melting and getting together. That would have been really interesting. That would have been a way to show that no matter what Sarah did, they're still going to be around.
I could have done away with one of the closing verbal shots from Arnie at the end of the film.
Yeah.
Decimated Arnie realizes that he has to throw himself into the molten lava below. And of course, now, since everything's happened to this film, there's some massive emotional attachment with John Connor and Sarah Connor, and they're parting ways, and he, for some reason, has to reach out and say, I now understand why you cry. I cannot do it myself. And then they hug.
Yeah.
So hugging Terminator, I could have done away with. He should have just emotionlessly stepped into the void to keep the mystique. But the hugging Terminator kind of like, I don't know if I like this. I know they were going to catch you in the feels at the end, but I don't know if I like the Terminator hugging.
Yeah, it was a little much.
I think that's one of the things that I wanted to mention. Like, I think we're talking about the end of the movie, like him being absolutely decimated, torn up, somehow still stands and hugs John Connor before throwing himself in there.
Yeah, I was asking my dad, I was like, he's supposed to be the Terminator. They're not supposed to have feelings, get hurt or whatever, but he's like limping around and he goes, well, it takes a while for him to regenerate. I was like, oh, that's true. He's not as quick as the new guy.
But somehow the new guy has emotions of sort, or can emulate emotions, whereas the old Terminators really can't.
That is true. Because he's like, hey, how you doing? That's a nice bike, you know?
Right. He has the grin. He has this look here and there, and he can emulate emotions like spot on to look like human beings. Whereas for some reason, the T-800, but even in the original film, it's just supposed to be like this emotionless mask on his face.
I mean, let's just face it. Arnold Schwarzenegger is not known for his kind, bubbly personality. You know.
Oh, no. He has kind, bubbly personality. You've seen Twins, haven't you?
Or I've also seen Jingle All the Way. But
have you seen Jingle All the Way? Oh, wow. Or Junior.
Oh, yeah.
Have you ever seen Pregnant Arnold Schwarzenegger?
Yes. So, but still, even that, he just kind of talks like this.
I love Arnold Schwarzenegger's kind of deadpan approach to feminism in that movie.
Yes, I do love you.
I'm bloating. Everything hurts. Why are my nipples sore? I'm just like, oh God, no.
Yeah. I will get you that action figure.
Or a kindergarten cop. It's not a tumor.
Boys have penises and girls have vaginas.
That forever. That's those two lines are the only ones that I can remember from the film. The kid and him saying it's not a tumor. That's it.
Is that where that's from?
Yes.
I always knew it was Arnold that said it, but I never knew where it was from. That makes sense.
I think one of the kids says he might have a tumor or something.
It's not a tumor.
It's not a tumor. Just yelling at the kids because he's trying to play a teacher undercover.
No, I've seen the movie, but now that makes sense as to why all of my friends and I used to say that all the time because we all saw that movie.
You got to say it in Arnie's voice too, you know?
Yeah, it's
just
not a tumor. You know, I do have a tumor in my body, but it's not a tumor. It's actually fun fact for all the people that don't know. I have this thing on my pancreas, and we were very worried about it because my sister and I have a mutation that can cause pancreatic and sun cancer. I can't think of the bad sun cancer. We have a better chance of getting it. And so for the rest of my life, I have to go twice a year at least to get checked to make sure I don't have any tumors on my body or one on my pancreas. But what happened was they did find something on my pancreas. And when I had like an endoscopy to go take a look at it. And they were like, oh, it's not cancerous, but it is this thing. And it's like a super rare, only like 30 people have it. That's on your, the tail of my pancreas. And it could get worse. It could not, but they have to check it, but it's not cancerous, but it could be cancerous. So it's
that's
very,
like a
very,
50-50
very rare.
thing that's very nerve-wracking, I imagine.
Yeah. Because, you know, it was fine when I went to the hospital 3 years ago and got a CT scan for something very unrelated. And they're like, oh, hey, by the way, we found this thing on your pancreas. You should get it looked at, but it's not a big deal. And I was like, okay, cool. And I was like, I'm not going to get that looked at right now. And then 2 years later, I was like, what? We have a mutation and it can cause pancreatic cancer? I was like, well, I have this thing on my pancreas. I should get that looked at. And
that's one of those things that you should probably get this thing looked at, and it's like immediately alarms go off in your head.
Yeah.
And any a doctor ever says that, it's probably nothing, but you should get it looked at.
Yeah.
You ignore the part that says it's probably nothing.
Yeah. Well, what's funny is that, you know, it wasn't a big deal until you find out you have this other thing that could make that a big deal. And then you're like, oh, shit, I should probably go get that looked at. Because the problem is that most people don't get CT scans or MRIs just for no reason. So when they do have pancreatic cancer, it could have been treated early, but they don't usually get those things done because, you know, you don't have symptoms until it's really bad. So unless you have something else that happens and you just happen to get a CT scan or an MRI, they would never know that it was there. So because I had diverticulitis and I didn't know, and I was having a flare up and they did a CT scan, that's the only reason why they found it.
Oh.
So, but I would have found it 2 years later anyways. But I probably would have freaked out a lot more than I already had, because I would be like, oh crap, there is something on my pancreas. And I could have pancreatic cancer. But now that I know it's there and I know that it should be fine, I feel a little bit better about that. So.
Fair enough.
It's crazy. That's the life of a 40-year-old, everybody.
Going in for checkups and finding things that you didn't want to know about, but
Right?
glad you know now anyway.
Yeah. Jeesh.
But, I thought I was just feeling tired, but now I have what?
Yeah. Now I have this super rare thing that like hardly anybody has. So that's fun. Good times.
Yeah. We'll call that good times. Yeah, sure. Uh-huh.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, what would you rate this movie?
I've been trying to think of an appropriate thing to pick on in this film. This film, as far as I'm concerned, this is one of those films that I have a lot of good memories about. I loved Terminator 2, and even watching it now, even though I think some of the special effects are kind of ridiculous, I would probably give this a 9 out of 10. Hasta la vista, babies.
I like it. I like that a lot. I'm gonna give it probably an 8 out of 10. 8 out of 10.
I took the obvious one.
Yeah. Sarah kicking ass.
Sarah kicking ass.
Yeah.
Right. Sarah Connor pull-ups.
Yes, Sarah Connor pull-ups.
and we're talking the exercise movement. She wasn't in diapers.
Yeah, no. No. Well, she might have been. We don't know.
Well, it's part of the comatose thing. If she was really trying to sell it, I don't know.
Yeah. And I'm glad that guy got his ass beat from her with a broomstick because
I thought she was going to kill him. Like, I couldn't remember that scene specifically. I saw the broken mop handle when he discovered it, and then I thought she was legitimately going to kill him because I've been watching too much of The Walking Dead. Because broken stick usually means hole in the head.
I love it.
Wasn't as brutal as that.
See,
he would have deserved it.
When I think broken stick, I think punctured heart. You know, that's how you kill him if you're a vampire. Slayer.
Vampire, yeah. Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Yeah. Or Vampire Diaries. Either way.
Well, I'll be honest. I've watched Buffy, the TV show, the movie, read a couple of the spin-off comics. Have not really watched the Vampire Diaries all the way through.
Yeah.
But I guess it's just because it had too much of a soap opera feel for me.
Yeah.
And I tried watching a little bit of it. I'm like, this feels like what would happen if you took your average like 90210, One Tree Hill, something like that, and then just gave it a vampire spin.
I will say later on in the series, it does start to have a The Walking Dead kind of feel to it, because it gets to a point where they make all the humans leave this one town because that's where all the supernatural stuff is. And, okay. You know, or they make all the supernatural people leave and all the, I can't remember which way it was, but yeah. So
you're trying to make me give Vampire Diaries a chance, aren't you?
It becomes a little less soap opera-y later on. Just saying. I mean, there's still a lot of that, but there are several episodes where it really has nothing to do with that. They do have a Groundhog's Day season where two people are stuck in this like weird Groundhog Day loop in this town. It's pretty interesting.
I say this kind of stuff, but I've watched all of Charmed and all of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, which, come on, that's 90210 Supernatural edition.
Yeah. Have you ever watched Supernatural?
I've watched that all the way through. Supernatural is not a soap opera. It's a bromance all the way through, but it's not a soap opera.
A big bromance.
A legitimate brother and brother bromance.
Yeah. Well, but there's other bros involved in that bromance.
There definitely is. Castiel is not a brother.
Yeah, he's a love interest.
And Lucifer, for some freaking reason, it's by the end. I did. Okay, now Lucifer's buddy with him. I don't get it. Not Lucifer. Is it Lucifer?
I thought you were talking about the TV show Lucifer, and I was like, okay, I like that show too.
What's his name? I can't remember the guy that plays the devil.
I don't know. I watched like a handful of episodes of Supernatural, if that.
I watched them all a couple times.
Which is weird because it has 2 cute guys in it. That seems right up my alley, but nope, never watched it.
It gets really gruesome. Like, it gets more bloody as the series goes on. So it's
that makes sense.
Equal parts supernatural mystery, equal parts horror. Kind of feels like a Scooby-Doo missing the Scooby.
Oh, okay. You crazy kids.
I would have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for you crazy human beings.
Well, I think that's the best note we can end on. Thank you so much, Chris, for coming on again.
No problem at all.
And now we have to figure out if we're going to skip number 3 and just go to the next one, or watch the pilot episode, or what. I don't know. We'll decide.
Got an idea.
Okay.
I've got an idea.
Okay.
Bear with me.
Okay.
What if I ship you a copy?
Do you have?
I have a copy here. I can watch it and then ship it on to you.
Oh, if you want to do that.
I'll watch it, take the notes, and we can spin 2 and 3 into a single episode if you are 3 and 4 into a single episode if you'd like.
We might have to do that. Well, I think I saw where I could get a copy on Amazon for like $5.99, so that would be cheaper than shipping it.
That's entirely possible.
I'll do some research and I'll let you know.
All right. Sounds good.
All right. Well, everybody, please take the time to get on our socials. Where can they find you?
We are found pretty much everywhere. Facebook. We are on Instagram. We are on most apps where you can listen to your favorite podcasts, including Spotify and Good Pods, which are some of my favorite apps. And we're trying to get a little bit of a foothold in TikTok, and hopefully by Monday we will have waveform podcasts up on YouTube.
Oh, cool.
We're moving over there at the assistance of another podcast who's kind of helped me move on from the tragic loss of Anchor.
Did that go away?
Spotify, Anchor, they bought it. They bought it out, and you can still upload things through them, but they've taken away all of their editing software.
Oh, wow.
So you have to edit and do everything externally now and then upload it directly to them. And I just prefer to have something that's a little bit more user-friendly. So we'll be moving on to Riverside FM.
Oh, cool.
So we'll see how that works out.
Oh, hey, look, I can buy a used copy for $3 on Amazon.
See, you found it.
I did.
Make sure it's from a good rated seller so they don't send you something that looks like it's been run through the nail grinder.
Right? Yeah. Yeah, ooh. Yeah, that one doesn't have a promise guarantee. Well, we'll figure it out. But thank you again so much for being on. And till next time, toodles! This episode was produced by Two Chicks Talkin Flicks. Music was produced by Michael Giovanni. If you like this episode, please like and subscribe. If you'd like to be a part of the show, have a movie suggestion, or just want to give us some love, you can email us at twochickstalkinflicks@gmail.com. Thanks, guys. Toodles.